He came to the debate armed with ideology, a clean, philosophical argument he believed was untouchable. He never imagined JD Vance had come armed with a dog tag, ready to expose the hollow heart of that philosophy in front of millions. The air in the sterile holding room behind the stage felt thin, smelling of disinfectant and nervous sweat. Vice President JD Vance wasn't looking at the polished talking points his staff had prepared. He was staring at an email on his phone. The sender was a woman from Ohio named Mary Ann Miller. The subject line was just two words: for Michael. Attached was a photo of a smiling young man in army dress uniform, Sergeant Michael Miller. He'd been killed a year ago in a border skirmish in a small, strategically vital nation that the new aid package was designed to support. The last line of Mary Ann's email burned in Vance's mind. Please, Mr. Vice President, don't let them say his service was for nothing. His chief of staff, a young, earnest man named David, knocked softly. 2 minutes, sir. Senator Paul is already on stage. Looks like he's ready for a fight. Vance pocketed his phone. The weight of it felt heavier than any briefing book. So are we, David, he said, his voice quiet but hard. This wasn't about a budget anymore. It was about Michael. On stage, the lights were blinding. Senator Rand Paul was in his element, exuding the confidence of a man who believes his principles are mathematically pure. When the moderator pivoted to the foreign aid package, Paul's eyes lit up. He leaned into the microphone, his target clear. This isn't about strategy. It's about a dangerous philosophy, Paul began, his voice ringing with academic certainty. The Vice President wants to send billions of American tax dollars to another foreign country, while we have veterans sleeping on our own streets. It is morally and fiscally indefensible. The duty of the American government is to protect America's borders, not the borders of some nation halfway around the world. Any other use of our resources is a betrayal of the taxpayer and a distraction from our true purpose. He delivered the lines perfectly. To many, it sounded like unassailable logic. He was the defender of the American wallet, the voice of reason against globalist entanglement. He sat back, a slight, self-satisfied smirk on his face, waiting for Vance's fumbling defense. Vance was still. He let Paul's words hang in the air for a long moment, letting the applause from the senator's supporters in the audience rise and fall. Then he unclipped the microphone from its stand. The senator speaks of philosophy, Vance began, his voice low and devoid of anger. So I'd like to talk about philosophy too, but my philosophy has a name. His name was Sergeant Michael Miller. He was from a small town a few miles from where I grew up. The studio audience went quiet. Paul's smirk faltered. This wasn't the start of a policy debate. It was something else. Michael wasn't a number in a defense budget, Vance continued, his eyes locked on Paul. He was the captain of his high school football team. He worked 2 summers at the local tire shop to save up for his first car. He enlisted because he believed, like generations before him, that protecting America sometimes means standing with our allies on their asterisk borders. So the fight doesn't come to ours asterisk. Vance's voice remained steady, but it was now laced with a raw personal gravity. He and his unit were there as part of a small advisory mission, helping a friendly government hold the line against a narco-terrorist group funded by our enemies. The senator calls that globalist entanglement. Sergeant Miller's mother, Mary Ann, calls it defending his country. Vance reached into his jacket pocket. The entire studio, every camera, every eye, followed the motion. He didn't pull out a chart or a report. He pulled out a single, scuffed military dog tag. and placed it gently on the polished black table. The small metallic clink was the loudest sound in the room. This was his, Vance said softly. His mother sent it to me. She told me that her son didn't die for a philosophy. He died for his flag, for the man standing next to him, and for the belief that American strength is a shield, not just a wall. So when the senator talks about betrayal, I have to ask, who exactly are we betraying by honoring that sacrifice? Are we betraying the taxpayer? Or are we betraying the memory of soldiers like Michael Miller if we tell their families that their sons died for a distraction? He let the question hang. He didn't look at Paul with anger, but with a profound, searing disappointment. Philosophy is easy from a stage in a television studio, Senator. The reality, for families like the Millers, is much, much harder. Rand Paul was undone. He was intellectually paralyzed. How do you debate a dog tag? How do you argue philosophy against a dead soldier's name? He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His entire argument, so clean and logical just moments before, now seemed sterile, callous, and disconnected from the human price of his ideology. He had been prepared for a debate. He was utterly unprepared for a eulogy. The firestorm was immediate and all-consuming. The clip, titled "The Dog Tag," didn't just go viral. It became a national moment of reckoning. The hashtag #Miller trended for 2 days, a digital memorial created by millions. Memes placed Vance's quote next to the photo of the young, smiling soldier. The narrative wasn't just Vance won. It was Vance reminded us. The backlash against Paul was unlike anything he had ever faced. It wasn't about policy. It was about character. He was portrayed as a man so blinded by his own rigid ideology that he had lost touch with basic human empathy. The private cost, however, was immense. Back in his hotel that night, Vance felt a deep, crushing exhaustion. Sarah, his chief of staff, stood grimly by the window. "The threats are worse than usual," she said quietly. "Ugly stuff. One email said you used a dead soldier as a prop. Another said they hope you meet the same fate." Vance just nodded, the words washing over him. The victory felt hollow. Had he done the right thing, dragging a family's private grief into the spotlight? He reread Mary Ann Miller's original email, searching for reassurance. Then his phone buzzed. It was a text from a number he didn't recognize. He opened it. "Mr. Vice President, my name is Colonel Tom Holloway, retired. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I've probably voted against you every chance I've had. But my son served with Sergeant Miller. What you did tonight, you gave those boys a voice. You honored them. Thank you." Tears pricked Vance's eyes. It was a lifeline. It wasn't from an ally. It was from an adversary. A man who could see past the politics to the principle. In that moment, he knew he had been right. The next day, there were calls for a media victory lap. "We need you on every show," David, his aide, urged. Vance shook his head. "Cancel them," he said. "All of them." Instead, he placed a single, private phone call. Mary Ann Miller picked up on the second ring. Vance didn't know what to say. He simply said, "Ma'am, I just wanted to make sure you were okay, and to thank you for trusting me with Michael's story." There was a silence on the other end, then a soft sob. "Thank you, Mr. Vice President," she whispered. "Thank you for making sure nobody forgot our boy." That was the only confirmation he needed. He had been right. He hadn't just won a debate or scored a political point. He had held up a mirror to a political philosophy and shown it its own reflection, revealing that a worldview with no room for sacrifice, loyalty, or the human cost of its principles wasn't a philosophy at all. It was just an abstraction. The real foundation of the country wasn't written in a think tank's policy paper. It was forged in the courage of soldiers like Michael Miller and kept alive in the hearts of families like his. In a world drowning in noise, what speaks louder? A perfectly logical argument or a single, undeniable human truth? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And for more stories that reveal the heart behind the headlines, please subscribe.